Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our show, Uncensored with Vusi. Today on our show, we do have a very handsome gentleman from Ekasi Thokoza Mabuya.
Sure.
He goes by the name of Simphiwe Khumalo. My brother, who's it?
Osana, thank you very much.
Ushapotia.
All is well. All is well. Can't complain.
Hey man, we appreciate your time. Man.
I appreciate the invite, man.
We out here busy. We're out here busy with the good work.
Yes.
I know, Guti, at some stage you also go to church, most.
Full time.
Yeah, I know, Guti, full time.
No, my Saturdays are my Sabbath, so you won't get me Saturdays.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I rest on
It's
Saturday.
you and God.
Sure.
Mapiwan, tell me, man, who's Simphiwe Khumalo? Ubuyapi?
Difficult question.
Yeah.
But I usually sum it up by saying I'm a child of Segruli and true.
Yeah.
I was born in Natalspruit Hospital in 1980, so I'm 45 this year. Yeah. In 1980.
No, we're getting old.
Yeah. I'm approaching 50,
Yeah.
sure. So I was born in Natalspruit, so I'm a local child.
Yeah.
And my parents told me that I was very sick when I was young, so they then shifted me. You would know, Dala, you'd be quickly shifted to a Koko Nomkhulu. So I went to Davidson, stayed with my grandparents, and we came pension time. They moved to KZN. I moved to KZN, Mondlo, and we stayed in Mondlo. Then came back again and stayed in Thokoza with my mother. I think that's a long and short of it. I'm a child who was sick, true.
Yeah.
Whether moving out in somewhere else, but I'm within the boundaries of Segruli, within the boundaries of Thokoza. Yeah. Scale-wise,
because I hear you talking about mostly KZN and
scale-wise. So my early childhood learning started in Davidson. There's a school there called, it used to be called in Thathazonke Primary School. I think the name associated with politics. So
yes, in Thathazonke.
Yeah, that's where I started my schooling. Our home is not in Davidson. It's not very far from it. David. That's where they did Yizo.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just opposite that school. Yeah, so we then, when we moved to KZN, not very far away from my home, about 2 houses away from home, there's a school called Ketelihle there. And I went to that primary school, then came back and finished my primary school in Ketlegile now. So from Ketelihle to Ketlegile here in Thokoza. So came 1994 when there was an opportunity for black kids to go to former multiracials, former Model Cs. And I went to Parkland School. In Albertine.
Yeah, Sure.
No. I wanted to go to Togotaba when I'm my son, but my mom had bad experience in Togotaba, and she was like, go anywhere but not Togotaba. I see. So we then around 94 when democracy kicked in, then they opened the schools for black kids to attend anywhere you wanted to attend. So I was part of the first few, perhaps were privileged. Around 1996 when I was doing my grade 8, we went to Parklands. So we are the beneficiaries of this democracy.
Yes.
We went to Parklands. Few of my friends. I wanted to go to Togotaba with all my heart, but my mom was like, not to Togotaba. And a lot of my friends were going to Togotaba. So it was like, you're going to Parklands. So I went to Parklands High School and I completed, Isaac Newton College. That's where I completed. And I think in a nutshell, that's where my education life would be focused on. So I've been around Albertine, Thokoza, Kasla Makasi, so it's embedded in me.
Education then, I know you're still young.
Yeah.
45.
Sure.
Not bad. When you compare education then, Ireniako and the rest compared to now, what is your take?
Look,
and your feeling?
Look, I'm of the view that we will get it right. It's coming okay. We'll get it right. I mean, the most important thing about education is access.
Yeah.
If you look at whenever we get results for grade 12, for instance, you look at the top 10, who's dominating the top 10, it tells you that you're on the right foot. I always hear people complaining about the 30% and so on. But if you were to dive and go deeper into my results, you see that the 30%, while it's there as a minimum, it's not for all subjects. It's just for assisting, not because we have not reached a point where we understand that school, it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
You find parents pushing their kids through school. So government had to come up with mechanism. But because the schools are producing lawyers, they are producing doctors, those things that are difficult, they are producing accountants. So we just need to move to a space where as a country we're investing. I mean, we wasted a lot of money during World Cup. We could have invested that money in improving our schools. Of course, life must be balanced. But if we had improved all our schools, we'd be producing things that would need to grow the economy. And once the economy is grown, then you are able to look at the things that are more for leisure and you invest in them. So I think we're on the right path. We just need more investment and the change of attitudes from our kids, because I think education during our era, what made it more powerful was that it was interlinked with families. And now we're sending kids to school, and the teachers, they are teaching, they are social workers. They are social workers, they are parents, they attend to parents' things. You knew during your time that you went to school, you mess up at school, you come back home, esikolweni mabakushayile ekhaya bakuqedelela basically. Yeah, but esikolweni ngeke bakushaya ngenzanga next.
There's something that you did. Correct.
I've been unfortunately ukuthi all my primary schools were closer to home. So it was easy. And my grandparents in KZN were part of the SGP. So they were a phone call away. They would always call them. We were one of the few families who had landlines. So they would always call them when you mess up. So you knew that your performance at school, it's linked to your family. So they were easy. But if you look now, the social family structure is destroyed. And that tends to reflect itself in the results of kids who are going to school. But I think the government is on the right path. More investment would do. I think that's a long and short of it. Government will need to invest.
I know, Gutman, you but I stand to be corrected. You'll then usnigeze a law directive.
Sure.
You are involved in politics. Much more to the African National Congress. Am I correct?
Yeah, sure.
Now, with that being said, tell me, in terms of development as it was, let's just say 20 years back and now, do you think we are moving in the right direction?
Look, it depends what you talk about, what you refer as development. I'm obsessed about service delivery. It's something that I like, and I'm very critical about service delivery. I think we have a tendency of government, or the government has a tendency of taking 3 steps forward and then take 5 backwards. I'll tell you why. Not very far from here, there's a center called the Youth Center, which is supposed to look at the development of the young people. That center, as we speak, the roof is down. A month or 2 has passed, the roof is down.
And we don't see umnyakazo.
If it was a private sector, not only would have fixed that. If that thing belonged to Transnet, by now Transnet would have fixed that thing. Or even just a private company or a church. Let's take a church, for instance. They would have fixed that thing and even improve it better if it was. So the problem that I see with our government is that government itself is too slow to take critical decisions. But if you were to look around Thokoza and look at where service delivery was 20 years ago, it's better, but it could get much better. We're supposed to be having proper grounds for the kids, and we're destroying what we have. That's another problem. Look at Thokoza, the Semduli Sports Complex. Look how it is. It's not something that
you like your auditorium that doesn't
look
have
at auditorium.
Look
at auditorium that's got squatters. Look at Katora's Child and Family Welfare. look at the state of that building. And we are to blame together with government. Look at the Qatar's child and family welfare. Government did not run that center. It's a community that was running the center. They were given millions every year to run that center. And what happened to that money? They chowed that money, and the center went down. And they went back to government. The government said, I've been giving you millions to run the place every year, but you chowed. Very funded place. It had money. It was given money. It was given vehicles. It was given the resources. You see, if you visit that place now, you'd see that it was away. You know, it was a few steps ahead of time. I mean, they were supposed to sustain themselves, but wherever we find money, government will always throw money, and there's no accountability, and then we take that money. We're still struggling with issues of sewer. You go to places like Shabalala Street and Kaki Street. Over years, they've tried, they fix, and the population ratio keeps growing up. And these things are old. They can't take it anymore.
Sorry to distract you. I went to Maukulu Mangale issue issue.
Yeah.
You've just touched the issue, the youth center.
Sure.
The roof thingy.
Sure.
It's 2 months now. We're approaching the third month now.
Sure.
Right behind
Yeah.
the same youth center.
Yeah.
I don't know as to how much millions were spent there.
Yeah.
But it's a training system.
Yes. Yeah.
Now you look at your street, Mabuya,
Sure.
down there.
Yes.
Amanza Yamara.
Yeah.
Our kids,
Yeah.
they crossing there every day going to school. You take Nimali is with that.
Here's the failure of government, which whether it's national or at local government, but it's worse at local government. We're building things that we don't have maintenance plan for. Beautiful idea. You want to build a retention dam. It's good. It's going to retain water that comes from the Basutwini area, from the area we used to call Val.
Yes.
Because that's a problem. That's where the problem is. They did that channel, which is all good. But
Okay.
there is no maintenance plan. And I'm one of the people who are saying, let's stop building because we don't have a maintenance plan. Let's maintain what we have. So you see that channel is blocked now. And it has become a problem because now where you have water, especially sewer water, Mile, there are kids who cross there. Their diseases will be airborne from there and waterborne from there. And the people who are squatting around there were staying around that water. You spend millions, then you don't even... If they had spent millions... It doesn't matter how many millions, but the areas, the development is serving the purpose, would not even be cognizant of how much they've spent. But now what makes us to be worried about how much they've spent is because we see that, yes, the water is no longer a problem across those 18 houses because they had to rebuild, lift them up, and the water...
They did good.
They did good, and the water is being channeled there. But if you build anything, I mean, your car, when you buy it, it comes with a maintenance plan.
Correct.
Because I know that you need to maintain this thing. But with us, we build, there is no maintenance plan. I mean, think of anything that is built by government. There is no maintenance plan. There is no proper maintenance plan. I mean, we're struggling to maintain CCC, which is a face of government. A face of government. Look at it. It was built some 10 years ago, I think, and there's not been any maintenance. You look at it, it's supposed to say this is where government is. Even the building next door to it, EMPD, it's the same story. So we built, there's no maintenance plan, so we ending up with a situation where things are falling apart.
But do you think it's an issue, Guti, there is no maintenance plan, or there is a maintenance plan, but gunabantu? As usual, you know, the government officials in terms of chowing the money. The money is there, and now later on, Imale Aiseko, and then we were to talk and say, but the government in terms of maintenance plan is failing us. I'll give you an example. Auditorium, back in the days, it used to have a maintenance plan, plus the security on top of that. Now, if that structure was formalized in that sense, it gives me the mind to say there is the maintenance plan, but maybe imali somewhere somehow iyanyamalala.
Okay, so it's something else having a maintenance plan and not funding it. Look at ESCOM, for example. Maintenance plans were there, but they didn't have money to fund it. Unfortunately, for you to to kick it, you need money for you to be effective in your maintenance plan. So we accelerated development. I think government accelerated development. We're excited, building RDPs, building that and that, a lot of things. But in the meantime, we're taking money from maintenance. It's evidence as well at ESCOM. We kept adding people to the grid. Government kept on adding people to the grid. And there was no one who was saying, but in fact, professionals, you would hear the story that they want Thabo to say, if you don't add, and they chose to ignore.
Correct.
I don't know to what extent is that in terms of the truth, but it tells you that there is an element of the truth in that, because if you look at the results, they tell you that there was a maintenance plan, but there was no man. So now they're trying to speed up the maintenance plan. So you'd always have issues of people who are chowing money in government, but you can only chow money, for instance, when there is a project, because you must go work. When there's a project, that's where they chow money. So when there is no project, they are also in a position where they want to put a project. They want to renovate youth center, they want to renovate, but when funds are not there, and then you'll have limited corruption. But look at the issue of COVID. Funds were there, and then with corruption in abundance. So I think it's because in the past the old government was not maintaining, was obsessed with property ownership and maintaining things. It was easy for them to maintain, because it was like they were giving us a stock suite to say, but your hall is always clean, your hall has securities, so why do you want houses, why do you want to move away from your hall? So it was easy for them. But when our guys came in, when I say our guys, I mean us, our friends came in, they concentrated at building new things. And almost you can take a tour around the Kurulin. Anything that has been built after 1994, be it a school, I know schooling is not a competence of the municipality, but it reflects on the government, be it an office, be it a hall, it lacks maintenance. It lacks maintenance because we invested a lot of money in building, but there was no proper investment in maintenance.
Let's go back to issue development.
Yeah.
And I wanted to touch Maskulu Mangali issue, see combined with the township economy.
Yeah.
Mapiwana, if indeed the government it is working,
Sure.
it is not just doing the talks and all that, good media and all that, especially your government, if I may say so. Itogoza would have been far in terms of development. Look at just next to a ShopRite. And I'm not talking this in a bad way.
Yes.
Our brothers and sisters, the foreigners, but occupy that space.
That space, yes, correct.
And you look at clean Balianda. It's no longer that it used to be before. Now, will I be correct to say, if those people they are allowed, the government or business people, they may just step in terms of building the nice stalls there. Uguti umkiti, if umkiti is gifted in terms of selling the fresh veggies, umkiti can be given a space. Your take on that?
Look, my take is that people who are supposed to do things, it's either they are fast asleep or for whatever reason they don't want to do them. I mean, the issue of bylaws, that's a violation of bylaws. You are given space, you work there, be it you're a foreigner or South African, you do braiding, small business braiding, but you take the very same remaining hair, you throw it there, and it clogs the water pipes there, because that thing is next to the channel that is supposed to take the water. But it means there's a metro police officer somewhere who has decided to turn a blind eye. That's what I'm saying. Systems are there, but people who are supposed to be doing these things are not doing them for whatever reason they know. And it will affect investment, because who's going to invest in a place like Kichimama Kundwani when he's supposed to sell food? Tabu down the road, Chicken Dicken, he's probably spending more money on pest control than ShopRite, because he's selling food that is ready direct. And it means somebody who's selling in Sentin is making more money than him, because he must now invest. I mean, you must, township economy must invest more in security, you must invest more in pest control, because we have a Makunduani that are roaming because of when somebody decided not to take care of Indao. So it is a failure on the side of government, in particular local government, and those who are supposed to maintain those areas. I mean, we live with metropolis officers, and I always ask myself, how do you feel when living in cars, traveling around, we're spanning, and they come up pothole, isn't it that your first line of duty is to say, people are driving cars that are road worthy, but the road is not vehicle worthy. So please, man, because local government, they have this thing they called integrated development. How integrated is integration when you're going to be told that road belongs to the province? So it is as if they are saying, it's a provincial road, but they're supposed to be interlinked so that they are able to report with their potholes on that road. Please close them. So yeah, people are supposed to be doing these things. They are fast asleep.
Do you perhaps talk about these things in your ANC meetings?
Look, to some great extent we do, but ultimately the decision makers are the people who get to be deployed in government. I'll tell you something. If you look now,
that were voted by the community.
Sure. I also hold very extreme views about issues of local government. I don't think it belongs to politicians. I think we made a mistake. It does not belong to politicians. Should have been given to civil movement. In the area where I stay, not very far from here, there are things that are not done by government, and they're kept and they're moving. Guys who own companies, they came together, they cut grass, they maintain that area. I mean, at your own home, you cut grass every week. I used to stay in Palmridge. I used to spend, because the yard was too big, so I was spending close to 800 for 2 visits a month. It's one of the reasons why I left there, because it was too expensive. 2 visits a month, they come and do my garden, cut grass. I was paying up close to 800 rand. And I used to do that religiously every month. But then you have a municipality, there's a big tree in front of the house. They don't cut that tree. It becomes my responsibility. In actual fact, the grass outside the yard, it's their responsibility. But if you leave it, it's going to overgrow. So I don't know, but I think people are fast asleep. They don't do it. They're there for political reasons, of course. But we do talk about it. But ultimately, the final decision stays with the city manager, with your councillor, with your different MMC. I mean, there's no robot that is working in this area. A typical thing. Recently, I see we have street lights that are working, which I was like, oh, okay. I drove a car, wow, street lights are
something.
Working. Yeah, there's something. That Khumalo Street is a main road, rich in history. But try to travel at night, you'd see that it's by God's grace that Siavaya and just work grand. You know, it's a very dark street. It's only now they've started working on the street light. But of course, this is coupled with the element of us as a community not taking care of our things. And it's tied to the issue of revenue. We're told not to pay for services. And now it's difficult that we must pay for services. And it's not because we don't have money. We just choose who to pay. Because we pay your channel TVs. We pay your... I mean, you look at people who say they don't have money. You look at what their dress code tells you, that they choose where to invest their money. And of course, if we don't pay for services, we'll get as little as possible services unless it's elections.
Khumalo being a very rich big street with history.
Sure.
You know, my concern, Mapiwana, is on this and in this fashion. Officials or politicians, they just don't care about Itogos, because you look at my elections.
Yeah.
When it's cut summer election, you can't even see your big names when it comes to the African National Congress, so to speak. But they're expecting people from Thokoza to come and cast their vote. You know, 2, in as much as you've mentioned now, to say Khumalo Street is rich in terms of history and all that, there is nothing that shows that.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing that shows that. Now, I want you to ukalope this too, and then basically to the point why you're here today. You just take us, if you do have information, your 1996 Eden Park RDP houses. Yeah. Rightful people didn't get a chance to benefit from that. Yeah. And then I think the next phase, it was the extension 26 Sky City one, so to speak, of which same people whom didn't benefit from 96, Nasa Sky City didn't benefit. Shame. You know, it's quite a shame. The people who benefited from those houses at Sky City are people whom were not born in 1996, whom didn't even register for those houses, Abantu again at our age. You take.
Okay, first maybe let's start by clearing the misconception. I've always said politicians, when they want to score cheap points around issues of houses, then they say, hey, police of the government says from 21. but their failure to provide, it makes it a RDP kube izindlu zabogogo nabomkhulu. Because a person has been waiting since 1994, and you can imagine a person, let's say, was 25 1994, and 35 years later khathuzomnika indlu and nabangani bakhe nibanika izindlu, it becomes izindlu zabogogo nabomkhulu. But in terms of police, ayikho indlu kagogo.
There is no such.
No, ayikho indlu kagogo nabomkhulu. It's supposed to be from 21. As immediately you are 21 and you are not working, you qualify for an RDP house, they should be able to provide that. Fortunately enough, because of being involved with my issue as a location, it's one of the things that we pick up to say, hey man, houses are being built, but people are not benefiting. We know people who are saying, I've been waiting list since 1994, Banalendo, the famous C-form. In a C-form, but I don't know. In fact, unabantu who qualified to have houses in 1994, 1995. Then 1999 umuntu athola umsebenzi akasa qualify. Work abakhulumi nayo uyaspana lo muntu lona for whatever reason indla kayitholi. Azalahlekela umsebenzi abuyele kwiqueue kuyothola indlu. Khathi azothola indlu akakayitholi still. So we got involved together with other local guys when we pick up that problem. Uthi abantu basekhasa ba benefit man. Fortunately, when they were building Sky City, then we came with a plan and said there's only one thing that government understands is that you must fight with them. So what we did there, we fought with them. When they hijacked those houses with an intention to engage with them, and they said, "Come, let's sit down." And we said, "Yeah, you don't give on Basekasi. Houses always goes to foreigners."
The reason for hijacking, it was to get the government's attention.
To engage them, yes. For instance, I'll give you an example. Personally, I had no reason to hijack because I do not even qualify for an RDP house. But I knew that our end goal was to put them on the table. And they came on the table and they said, okay, let's talk. What do you want? And the difference between Eden Park and we call it Sky City, but it's Palmridge here. If you go to that Sky City RDP area, is that there you meet a lot of people especially the young ones, because we said to them, there is no point. It's difficult if you're gonna try. I think my sister, she's approaching 70 now. If you're gonna take her, she's not gonna stay for long, because one, you've removed her from places where she was comfortable. One, you are removing her from a support structure. Two, so she's gonna stay there and feel good. I mean, if you take a 60-year-old, 70-year-old, that person is active economically, and support economically, we are creating a problem. So that's what we engaged them about, and we said to them, no, give young people who qualify these houses. Yes, they registered this year, some of them in it, but you need to strike the balance, because you know what's happening in Makassar. It's very sad. You find one, there are 4 generations in one house. So we said, tackle this. There are people who registered. Some of them, we have helped a lot of people. Ababe Palise were given houses in Eden Park, but those houses were hijacked in Eden Park. And those guys, they won the case in court, but say Eden Park. So they said to them, we will move you to the next project, but there was no next project. So when that mega project came, we said to Sibampia was the MMC then, please help these people. So I personally know a lot, even from Ekasalam, who benefited, were supposed to benefit there, and they got houses there. But ultimately, the issue of housing in South Africa, it becomes a very thorny issue because of its scarcity. You will never. I mean, we assisted over 200 people who benefited there and got houses, and it's a mixture. I think the oldest we assisted was umamaga gunuputwala election was umamaga Putholwan.
Yes.
I think Koknompi at that time, she's late now. I think at that time she didn't have a house. I think she was just around 88 years. Yes. Yeah, but she was above 80 years. Yeah, I think that's the oldest person who we made sure to told into that. But we said to them, strike a balance. You can't give a bokoko on this end, because those are the houses as well that get to be sold. Because usisi wami nawo usele nezindlu zasekhaya, so mawumnikeza indlu ngeke kutshela ukuthi hayi mina sengaba right ngihlala endlini yomntanami ebhaliswe ngumntanami, because we are qualified uzoyithatha indlu and uzoyenza in the long run uzoyithengisa, and then there's about you South African are selling houses. So there is that problem of people who are getting houses and selling them. There's a problem of saying izindlu zabogogo. when the police is saying something else. So there we strike a very good balance. You'll see that we have from 21 going to Amandabana 50s, going to up to 8 years. We tried our best to engage them. Unfortunately, the very same project was hijacked.
So you don't get to be characterized as umuntu that speaks for Abangan Baki. Give us this surety. Because of you're much involved.
Yeah.
To say
no, you do.
Young people whom are there.
Yeah.
Indeed, they deserve to be in this fashion.
Yeah.
They did register for those houses they didn't hijack.
Yeah. No. Right. There was no one. Remember, we hijacked. Then we moved out because there was a court order that says, by the way, we followed this matter to court. We did not only hijack for those people, but when they went to court, we followed them. We got the best lawyers and we followed them to say, let's go. I got a senior advocate, we got an advocate, we got an attorney, and people paid and said, let's go to court, and we went to court. No. Look, in any struggle, you would get those who are leading the struggle. You'll always be accused of favoring your friends, your families. If you look at the political landscape, you'll always hear, I am a comrade, I am but if there are people I don't know who have assisted, if you can talk to them today, and of course, you would not ignore a need because you know a person. I'll give you an example. There's a lady in Maziyo Ngasekai. She was given a house in Eden Park when they were giving those houses, and the house was hijacked. And she had a pressing issue that needed her to have a house because also approved. Then I said to her, you should not be struggling. But then she says to me, no, in any case, I was called for a Palmridge. But Abasang B is good and we assisted there. But if you look where we took over, it was just to say, hey, it's been over 8 months already in Mbizin. She was not part of the group that were assisting, but her case made it possible for us to get involved. So look, in any struggle you would always be accused. I've been involved with community work for too long. I know that you would always be accused. If there's a project and you employ people, you employ one ANC board. Even when you prove that we'll talk about what we do with communities in terms of Thatazonke, but I'll give you one example. There are people who strongly believe that Thatazonke helped ANC only. ANC aligned people.
Hold on that one.
Yeah.
Let's finish this one.
Yeah.
And because this is the last chapter.
Okay.
That we want to engage more.
Okay. Okay.
But by the way, let's thank umsebenzi uyenzile in terms of helping the community.
Sure.
In all aspects.
Sure.
Now, your involvement with Thatazonke.
Yeah.
Before Sialab, man, you I don't know, he doesn't strike me as umuntu that should belong to Thatazonke, not in a bad way.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Simphiwe, you accountant, a lawyer, your pastor, doctor, and you understand. And then him being involved, even if he's a spokesperson, him being involved with Thatazonke. You are expecting about Thatazonke, the freedom fighters like you Mchachu, you Abu Zulu and stuff, and then that will make sense.
Yeah.
With Nabukumeshan and all that.
Yeah.
Please take us through.
So if you follow very close, you know that I was part of the SDU.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have a history of getting involved with it. That was look, I think I'm one of the youngest, if not the youngest, people who appeared through Truth and Reconciliation at Chogos to account for what we did as SDU members. But in our
you come far at your age 45.
No. We've always got involved in issues of community. So I got involved with self-defense unit. Self-defense unit Ekasi was run by the ANC, and I was part of Lusaka A, and the unit that I was part of, it was called the Young Battalions, because we were young at that time. We were very young. Our innocence in we were very young, so we got involved there, and we were defending the community. Basically, the STU was defending the community, making sure the law enforcement had collapsed at that time. The only thing they knew was scope and donor. and shooting. So we got involved even on domestic issues to make sure, because there was a new problem that while there was political violence going on, then criminals as well, they saw a space. I mean, people were getting raped, breaks in were starting to be there, and we got involved in trying to arrest the situation and take care of the situation. So yeah, my background in terms of protecting the community, it comes from there. So it was easy for me to transit from when there was a problem, hijacking a cars, to say, Konje, we want SDU.
Yes.
So we know how to deal with these things, and we then move into Elon involvement, the SDU. Yeah, but I get a lot of comments sometimes, people that every time when it Thathazonke, we're not expecting someone like you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I carry a firearm, but I'm passionate about investigation as well. It's my line, it's what I'm being trained for, private investigation. So I think it makes me work well with Thathazonke, because it's something that we do, investigating, assisting the police, getting hijacked vehicles, and dealing with GBV cases. Yeah.
Tell me, it was Thathazonke, and now there's Izo.
Yeah.
And to my understanding, if my recollection is right, it is that it was Group A1 before.
Yeah.
Give us the gist as to the separation.
Okay, let me give you background first to Thathazonke. So what happened was that 3 years ago, there was the issue of hijacking, which was going up in cars. And most of the even those who don't stay at Kasi anymore, we spend our time in Kasi. So we would always meet to hijacking. How? Okay, hijacking. So we decided, no man, guys, we can't be a how guys every time. Hijacking. Every time we respond, because Vusi is my friend, then we say, let's go look for that car. So we said, no, let's meet Buffet. So everyone was sick and tired of this hijacking. Let's meet. When we met, we're not called Thathazonke. We met because we were tired of this. I remember our first group, it was called Enough is Enough with hijacking, WhatsApp, and we had over 200.
So now this is before you form Thathazonke. Okay.
Yeah. This is the formation of Thathazonke, but we didn't know it was Thathazonke at that time. We're just saying let's assist. So we met us in 63. We sat there, and we then said, hey, Buffett, some of you nagena jonji moto, some of you nagena hijack kayabon. So we always tell these people, no, we don't shy away. We always tell people that what makes Thathazonke successful is that it's got guys like us who are community workers, who are obsessed with helping the community. It's got politicians. It's got guys who are ex-offenders, people who went to jail for these things. It's got guys who got involved in crime by Bosch. And most guys in Katoras, they got involved with crime because of SDU. Yes. It's easy to say, I was controlling AK. We've got guys who are involved in CIT, big people who are involved in CIT. So we said, let's sit down and pull from what we know, we history. How do we then move forward and make sure this does not happen? So we met there, we said there were business people, they were pure business people. Their interest is that guys, abantu abasezi etavenium, abantu abasezi host my event because so we met there, nabachita sahlala, coming from different backgrounds, and we started our first operation. We were successful, recovered cars, and we said, hey man, this thing is getting serious, let's give it a name. When we met, we thought we were in for a month or two, but when we realized after 2 weeks that hey, now we're getting requests for media interview, police wants to see us, you can't go to leadership and say, well, enough is enough with car hijacking. They want to know what's your name. Why is group in? So we said, okay, let's look for a name. The late Commander Mandla Kambuli was with SAPS some time ago, and there was a unity I called, it was not called Thathazonke, I think there was a name maybe Zoyon, but Ekasi, we used to call it Thathazonke because the Kumbi Bahamba registration was TTZ, was TTZ numbers, and then GP, was it T or GP, I think. So Ekasi, it was called the Thathazonke. You know, Ekasi, they would look at the registration, you'd know it takes a PPF or the PPA. One of the best checks is exactly. Now, like us. So people will look at the name and then it area GMO and then by pick up. So we then said no, sifuna lesa spirit Thathazonke bokula amaphoyisa bawasatshwa ke ukuthiwa mawufunwa ile yakhumbi kubonakala ngathi bowucela ekhaya ukuthi ngithengeleni noma itoy nifake toilet. Mina ngizoyikhoma. So Putmandla was working for that unit, and he was part of us, and he had taken a leadership role. So we said, no, Putmandla, sifuna lesa spirit senu seThatazonke beyisatshwa yigebengu. So that's how we got the name Thathazonke. We started from there, and the number kept on going down because some people were only committed for a month. Abanye, hey, lento, it's getting serious because we're self-funded as well. People were saying, hey, we're spending a lot of money. I'm spending too much on petrol. Hey, motia chai sisale nam. So we're left with the option to say, okay, those who think they can commit for long, basal. And I think at the current stage, we're around 62 of members who are left with Thathazonke. Now, to your question, why do we have Elon? Now, when we're busy with Thathazonke, look, anywhere where you have more than 2-3 people, you'll have a conflict because we might not. I mean, you guys have a podcast. One of you tomorrow can come and say, no, man, Yekuruleni TV wants to involve the podcast. Be party here, Lord. And someone would say, no, I mean, I've always wanted us to stay away from the establishments. It's control. No, we're not in it this for man. So yeah, there was a disagreement on a way forward on how we want to conduct Thathazonke. And some felt to go, hey, no, if we go commercial, we will leave the community. But the reality was that community is not funding this thing, and the community need this thing. We needed to come up with ways to do it financial. So most of the guys Bapuma, they were not for finding the ways to do it commercial, and they left and they formed the Yizo. But we still worked with them. We worked closer together. Yeah, so there was no bad blood. There was no agluwanga per se. Yeah, that's why we had Yizo.
Asizela. Yeah. In terms of Thathazonke, because you represent Thathazonke.
Sure, I represent Thathazonke.
In terms of the funding, how involved a community it is in terms of maybe saying per house to those whom are interested. As we sit now, we fund almost 95% of whatever is happening in Thathazonke. It comes from members. And community will bring about 5% as and when. In the past, we used to do a board and we look after those houses, but it's a project that we have since stopped because a community yethu has a long way to go about being educated on issues with security. For instance, a person would put a board let Thathazonke and then call you at 1 a.m. and say, I have an emergency. When you get there, ulwa nonkosikazi wakhe because abamphakela. And you look at what we are paying and the cost of responding to that case. Because we tell you emergency, phuma abantu abaphethe ibhamu, phuma imoto ezu3 because customer at the end of the day. And you look at the cost. They're paying 100 rands per month. And now phuma imoto ezu3 in one night attend, and you get there, it's not even domestic violence, but abanela nje ukuthi umunye akaphakela, baxabane nomakhelwane, isihlahla sikamakhelwane silahlela ama-pages umakhelwane uyawadla, then they would call you. So we said, hey, no, we have a long way to educate the community. It was not making money for us. In fact, we're spending more. So we said, no, guys, let's leave this thing. So we've left it. So yeah, we're self-supporting. We're sitting at 95%, and then your 5% will be donations. And you know, with donations, they are not consistent. So this month you will find you have 10,000. Next month you have 5,000. So in our operations, a great majority of it we are supporting ourselves. Now, you have mentioned that you are helping the police in non-Keguland. What is the take from the government from the good job that you guys are doing?
Look, I'll give it to you straight away. Government hates competition. And to them we appear like competition, so they would never fund you. A typical example, you must look ukuthi a municipality yethu ifund ama-funeral wabobani and just check ukuthi khona crime fighter ifund. They don't do it. They would rather give it to a celebrity. Was a celebrity 20 years ago, was giving us a storm, was good as nice, pump 100,000 there for a funeral, magashoni. But someone who died in the line of duty, they would never do it. So government hates competition, police hates competition. When we started, the environment was very hostile. They thought maybe we are there to take the shine away from them, as for the community.
That was not the case.
And unfortunately, That was the case. Unfortunately, it was not as per our design, but as per response community. Because remember, we became victims of our success. Because the community abon good mind phonela, tina we don't have to attend to my case amaning. So most phonela uti ngilahlekelwe equipment yam ye broadcasting engisisebenzisayo for a podcast. That's the only case we have yaseThokoza. So masilala sicabanga yona, masivuka silala yona. Unlike a police officer ohleli 100 dockets. Le rape, okay, take rape out because now they signal specialized units. So le housebreaking, le GBV, le murder, le court na uyagula unento zakhe omela zenze. So most compare services sikunika yona ne service oyinikwa amaphoyisa. We become victims of our success to say, "Hey mina labajita in 2 days thola yonke into yami iphoyisa by the time lingifonela bese ngithola into zabo, not realizing ukuthi iphoyisa behleli 100 dockets mele lifonele wonke umuntu liye court alinamoto yoke emsebenzini." So yeah, it was like that, but it was designed by community because community would tell them ukuthi yadlala nithatha zonke isitholele lezi zinto kathi ngifika so there was a hostile environment, but then we engage, and I must say ukuthi Colonel is it Colonel? No, it's a general. Umphathi weGroleni yonke uMama uSithole was very influential in assisting us masqala, because it's one of the things that she pointed out to say, you guys are there to assist the police. Yes, you are assisting the community, but you must be interlinked with the police. And we worked well with our stations around now. They're able kunezinto amaphoyisa angakhona ukuzenza banjwa umthetho. Give you one example. If you walk a police station now and say ngilahlekelwe imoto, they can't take it to social media and say ulahlekelwe imoto, because they must investigate ukuthi waqala ukhuluma iqiniso wena na, and they must do other things. But we are able to most tell ukuthi ulahlekelwe imoto and we put it to social media and somebody sees that car's check. So people would say laba they work better, not understanding the constraints by law amaphoyisa banazo ukuthi hey lo muntu lo amaphoyisa can't put up a picture yomuntu on Facebook and say we're looking for lo muntu lo. We can do that. Because when you send your lawyers, we send our lawyers. We don't have time. General must get involved. When you say, why did you publish us? We say, we publish you. Popia Act does not get involved because of so we can do that. Yeah. So the environment was very hostile in the beginning, but now we work well with the police. We have a very good relationship with Thokoza SAPS, Katlehong, both police stations, Fosloras. I mean, we go as far as Brekenes, Klipperveer. The relationship is solid and very nice. Also, we have learned over time that if you want to assist the police, they must get involved as well. Yeah, because in the past we'd arrest a suspect that is wanted, say, for theft. And my police station boys are there to buy nothing on the phone. Yeah. I need to mama utumfana sizitholile izinto athi mina bengingakashuthi ngamfuna. And now you have wasted your time and your resources, and then 2 weeks later you hear the same person who bought you for that case. So now they understand as well we are not, they can't wish us away. Because we're a community, we must get involved. And also they've learned to understand that we are not in this for competition. And luckily some of us have opened our security companies, so we're able to engage with them more at a professional level, where they know that they are dealing with a security company as well.
So Thathazonke is only a Katoras, or is just around Gauteng?
We're supposed to be the whole of Ekurhuleni, but budget does not allow us. But also it's difficult to get people who are at the same wavelength with you. It was easy in Katoras. We've tried to assist guys from Davidton and they could not understand. Because one of the biggest problems that we have is that people want to do something that will be funded by government very soon. And I can tell you for free, government would not even be interested to touch Thathazonke. For whatever reason that is known to them. I mean, we always see people getting funding for biomodla, boxing match, and we've approached them on a number of times to say, look, we've registered as a non-profit making company, support us. But also I don't blame them. Thathazonke is the mother of all these crime fighting units. So it's a new thing now, but they don't know how to deal with us. Because bayasibuza ukuthi sine-metropolis, why should we fund abanye abantu? Sinamaphoyisa, why should we find a group of people who are saying sine-CPF, by the way, which also we had a hostile environment with them as well, because they felt ukuthi hey nina manje ngathi you're being recognized more than us. And then we said to them, we are recognized because of the successes that we have brought in. I mean, we have arrested murder people, We've brought in suspects who were wanted and who have been in hiding. So if you check with media cases that we got involved in, powerful cases when they killed a former councillor, I said Grulin. This is where I wanted to go when I said people don't believe you're good because most of guys about Thathazonke, I remember ANC, we serve ANC. We don't serve ANC, we serve community. When they killed Ukoketsu, was a former councillor of the EFF in Grulin. It's Thathazonke that stood up and made sure to those guys. Not only did we stand up and make sure they got arrested, they who tried to have a friendly match with our members they were shot and killed by members of by a member of ANC was a branch chairperson at that time. Why who's a member of Filonia. So when it comes to us, we are a combination of guys. We have guys who are serving as far as the province in terms of their political things, but that does not blind us. When you get there, crime is a crime. It does not matter whether it's an MKP or, by the way, one of our members, a command church, is a chairperson of MKP in Ekuruleni. Yeah. So some of them, we look at Lsiba Mpia, is a spokesperson and he works for the ANC. So we have guys who are serving at national and provincial and we work well. But
when it comes to Thathazonke,
we fight crime there. It doesn't matter who to be up here.
Now tell me, talking of crime.
Yeah.
I know this is difficult, but it cannot be difficult for your caliber. Mapiwan. Funeral. Just random funeral. Okay. Just a random funeral.
Yeah.
Ugngasi, the deceased is not, or she's not even a member of any political party.
Sure.
She was not even involved in and all that.
Yeah.
There's guns there.
Yeah.
And some of the guns, by the way, we cannot run away from this fact.
Yeah.
Aksi Yipamu is nama license,
sure.
And there's Thathazonke.
Yeah. Even if it's a licensed firearm, the law is very clear. You can't discharge a firearm in public for no other reason except to defend your life. It must be exceptional circumstances. So I can't use force enkulu force bonga so mongishaya ngempama I can't take out the gun because in terms of law bazothi wangomshaya ngempama back why ungabalekanga wangazama ukubaleka. So even the license one, they are controlled, but we are misusing them. I'm saying we are because it's a common thing even among crime fighters. Must not shy away from that. Even police, they get involved in these things. So we are misusing those firearms. It's one of the things that, as abantu say, basekatoras, it's cultural. We are from inkansizim. However, it's not done in a proper way because if you look at a video, a funeral ga Christian, it's not everyone was shooting. There's a dedicated person who shoots. If you take this from the arm, it's not everyone who shoots. There are people who are set aside for 21 gun salute, and it's done orderly. So you find out with like my funeral in, for instance, there's one guy there in the PMC. We had Tubula, which and that guy died because Washaya a very important vein and Washon. So we the gun owners were reckless as well. And it's one of the things. So what we do, we own a page in Katora's Crime Watch. So what we do, we use that page strictly for educating communities, for showcasing the dangers of certain crimes and using humor. If you look at that page, we use humor to warn the community to say, but we're not saying necessarily when we're saying it's reckless what you are doing. But yeah, it's getting better, it's getting low and hopefully, and police, what they've done now, every time when a funeral was suspected, they deploy police there and make sure they are there. But then you always have people who take chances. So we always educate people and say it's worse when your firearm is licensed. Because where that bullet ends, if it fike kumuntu yambulala, one day bazobaka hijack udubula umuntu umlimaza, but sathi firearm bayise ballistic, but hayi siyabona lo beka hijack right, but sikufunela enye case yemurder wena wadubula umuntu emaphanga. Ubathe uyacabanga, I've never had issues emaphanga.
Sure. Welcome back.
Thanks.
As we're about to wrap, asiyekule.
Yeah.
Imoto niyayithola.
Yeah.
Is Thathazonke.
Sure.
And I suspect or ama-suspect angiwatholi.
Yeah.
There's a general feeling ekas in order for nina to gain trust yabantu remember abantu bayakhuluma
Sure.
ukuthi man labachita ngathi yibo abaplota lezi zinto lezi
Sure.
or nje bayenza whatever as if busy and stuff kwenzakalana.
All right, there's two things that is happening. One is that we're constrained by law. I'll explain it why. And two is that akosigebeng esifuna ukuboshwa. Amajele ngabagcwele kuba igebeng esifuna ukuboshwa. So you would see that the vehicles that we are recovering most of the time, they are not in motion. Even the one that the famous one, the G-class one that we recovered, one of the first cars we recovered, there was a shootout, and no one the shootout asaren. There was a shootout between ourselves nabo, and our interest was to get their vehicle, secure the vehicle, and bring it back to their own. So what happens here is that there are two things that is in Zagalai. Imoto maise say in these premises where we are, and imoto leng hambang hai jonchiwe. And but there is no key like Jartin, for instance, or a key ngaphakathi kwayo imoto. When the police gets here or any law enforcement must figure see Thathazonke na imoto la ingene ngobani yaza sibonanga gate na queue asibonanga marni 20 la ngaphakathi. You can't arrest everyone there. You must mawufika court but how did you identify your suspect? You must know this is your suspect because one, it's a 5-seat, so bopha abantu abayi7 or abantu abayi10. So it does not make sense. There is not enough evidence. And what is called possession of a stolen firearm, possession of a stolen vehicle, it must be properly identified with why you possession. Give you one of the latest cases is now. The reason why it's been a suspect is because this case is coming. And begaya kuyimoto yostart angasiboni ukuthi simile sifuna ukubona ukuthi imoto izostart obani. So it's very easy. It's there on the statement, there are witnesses abhekile, there are people abashooting asayi emotweni obayapha masifika simlalisa phansi isikhiye siphuma kuyo. There's confession from him ukuthi yes, although wathi mina ngithunywe uBravus angathi imoto yami uthi hayi Bravus ubiza igama elingekho. So there are those elements. But I must say ukuthi community has always, you'll always have people who are saying, nina my ex-offenders. Nina nesjonja le moto nibeke. Nesjonja le moto. The success yeningaka, nesjonja le moto nibeke. Would not do that because one, it does not benefit us anyhow. You see, if we're benefiting financially, it would make sense to say, "Hey, Bas Georgia," but we're not benefiting out of this. We're actually losing money. So we would not want to be celebrities. So the issue of possession is very important. That you establish from the scene that I mean, there's 4 boys, and 4 boys. One was next to us, so and we are sure time bengize ku prime siyaphema siphema igada bengizobopha igada omunye athi hayi mina ngijola nomntana ohlala eroomini la. So you can't arrest everyone la nithole leyo moto khona. Then there is issue umuntu enimthola nemoto manisabreak uyazi ukuthi ona Thathazonke uyabaleka. One, you can't shoot that person. So if there is no one who's fit enough ukumgijimisa, that suspect is gone. You can't get that suspect because a court, when you arrive, the first thing they want is that in the past, we used to be excited and arrest anyone. But when you get to court, how did you identify this suspect? You can't say bekachugile, but boqala ukumbona uthi abathi wazingani bekachugile. Wena nje ubona umuntu oqala sembona ukuthi uchugile. So we've always had those cases, and we've always told people when we started, the police were promising us uzonibopha yini enenza lento le. Then later on babona ukuthi nah man, it's not them man, but they are, because we have gathered information, worked well with crime intelligence, by the way. Some of information we gather information sbanikeze to say we could not arrest in that yard. But what we have identified with abantu abatshontshe le moto beze nemoto lapha ubani nobani. Even after you have identified, you can't arrest that person. This is where now you must investigate and bring proof, because if the person had but he's an army moto ban, you can't say because it's so set is a novus. Now you must say but he's now, and the kutholakala ama fingerprints wakho, kutholakale your phone, your signal, your phone bo around that vicinity. Like try check khona lapho bo khona, but that's umsebenzi wamaphoyisa now. We can only provide the intelligence.
No, Mapuan. I think we need to have part 2.
Sure.
There's a lot that we need to talk about.
Let's do it.
I'm not saying you must respond to it. I think it will take place in part 2. There's a drug dealer.
Ekas,
Katoras. Mandisa Street.
Yeah.
We are Bosholomun.
Yeah.
Then later on we are Pum.
Yeah.
2, there's a rumor again that you need to give us this clarity.
Yeah.
Your members, the Thatazonke,
Sure.
kuna drug dealers
Correct.
within you guys. But that will happen in part 2. Mapiu.
It's correct. One thing before we go to part 2 next time. You see a case, we call you a drug dealer, even if we don't have evidence.
Okay.
The law says there's a suspected. Yeah.
Okay. No, you'll give us a clarity on that one because of the community cannot wait on this one.
No, definitely.
We need.
I think we have answers.
Yourself and police, you need to rubbish into yama drug dealers and all the drama drugs in Jikas, Katoras as a whole.
Yeah.
In closing,
Yes.
what is Simphiwe Khumalo busy with currently?
I am pursuing a career. For the rest of my life, I have not done my studies and finished, but I'm pursuing a career by investigation, so that's where I become a registered investigator. I'm a business person. I have interest in issues of solar. I am pursuing. I'm involved in a company that was appointed by Gruleni, who are building a massive 10 megawatts solar. Will be providing electricity to Gruleni. We are doing our financial closure next month. But also I'm in the property business. I do what is called I flip houses, so I buy houses and add some few things and then sell those houses. So that is what is keeping me busy. But I have a granddaughter as well this time around. She's keeping me busy. I have a very young family. I've been married for 12 years now. So that's what is keeping me busy. But I'm a church person as well. I'm a church person. That's what is happening in my life. That's keeping me very busy.
Lastly, now back to your organization. 2027, Fikile Mbalula Panyazal Sufi. Who do you think should be the president?
Fikile Mbalula, none of them.
Why is it that?
I would be comfortable to have Panyazali Sufi probably as a Minister of Education. I think one of the problems we have is that we invest on people. His background, his understanding of education and what it must be, it's unparalleled. No one can reach that level, and we have seen him what he can do. So my wish is that even now as a premier, I think he is misplaced. Where we need him is education. If he could be taken to education. President, look, also I hold the view that says a president, it must be someone that is a bit older. Because when by older I don't mean 80. In any institution, whether it's a family or what, leadership is done by old people. That's why there's that saying that says ngesiZulu indlela ibuzwa kwabadala, because young people who are very emotional, young people, you must look every time there's a case of corruption, which Abubana mentioned. Young people have our own issues. It's young people, whether it's professionals or it's politicians. Look at people above the state capture. In their majority, it's young guys above Velena Payan. So we can't have a president, but also I think I believe in family, and I think that actually that you touch on this. Just yesterday I was talking to this with my wife, and I said even if I were to get an opportunity to be a president of a country at 50 years, I would never be, but at 60 I would consider it, or at 65, because you are done with family at that time. You've spent time with your kids. You are not an absent father. Look at the kids. I'm a politician. So I think Balula maybe as SG of the organization, he can do well for the second term, just to run that engine, because whatever mistake I wins a match, so you'll be able to hold it for 2 terms. Because also this thing of 1 term does not work. 2 terms, you run it and you're comfortable. So none of them would be, I would say, should be the president.
Mabiwa, Maprad, thank you very much, man.
Thank you so much for an invite.
Definitely, you are coming back for
we'll always be
part 2. There's a lot that we need to engage on, and we cannot just engage.
Sure.
By the way, whatever that AC Kuluma light needs to go back, we communicate.
Sure.
So we can see a change.
Definitely,
my brother. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for
ladies and gentlemen, Simphiwe Khumalo, Balega Tuts, Thatazonke.